Today I want to talk to someone who feels that he is a failure. I want to talk to that lady who feels that she is a failure. And my word is simple. The problem is not that you failed. The problem is how you react to failure. Failure is not the problem. The problem is what you do after you have failed. A failure is like a teacher. So what you do with the lessons that failure has taught you is the problem. How you react to failure is what can keep you down or what can make you get to the top. I say this because I have failed several times, so I understand failure a bit. As you travel on life's journey full of zest, full of zeal, focus and discipline, thrust forward by determination and passion, I would like you to always remember that ahead lies many falls and failures. Speaking to students at the University of Massachusetts, Robert Hall said something that made me think. He said, "There is a good chance I'm the biggest loser you've ever met. There's a good chance I'm the biggest loser you've ever met." And he was not far from the truth. This was a man who, before March 2020, so before the coronavirus pandemic, he was worth over $1.4 billion, one of the richest men in the world at that time. But within a short period, he lost all and had to relieve his staff of their duties. He could be considered a giant in the corporate world who failed in his quest to go public and become a billionaire. But failure, as he said, is a serious motivator. In less than 6 months, he picked up himself and founded another company that is worth over $1.85 billion today. And Robert Hall himself, according to Forbes, is worth over $5 billion. You see, as you ride along this life, attempting to move up the social ladder, always remember that there are bends along the way, several twists and turns on the path to greatness. On those bends, especially the sharp ones, the risk of the giants falling off is high. The risk of crashing to the floor and experiencing accidents is very high. Well, this reminds me as well of one of the greatest kings in the Bible, one of the greatest kings in the Old Testament. This king was so great, he was so mighty that the mention of his name injected fear into the arteries of other kings. He was so successful in his war campaigns that it was impossible to imagine that he would fall for something he could have gotten so freely if he desired. King David had access to many women in the land. In fact, almost all women in the land if he desired. Some women would even be willing to enjoy rounds of fleeting moments of carnal pleasure with him. Without him asking, they would just throw themselves at him. But this great king fell. And he fell so woefully that the woman that he took to wife, he had to kill the husband before taking her. And that enraged the father-in-law of Uriah, the husband of Bathsheba. So King David, great, mighty, victorious in his war escapades, a giant, fell. And he failed his family. He failed God. Oh, in the New Testament, we have another person that failed. We have Peter. Peter was one of the closest apostles of our Savior Jesus Christ. He was so close and high-ranking that at the earthly departure of Jesus, Peter was vested with the responsibility of coordinating the other apostles and the church in general. Peter was the one, in fact, he was the only one who had a direct revelation of who Jesus was. That revelation he had was not ordinary. The ability to peer into the heavenlies and capture the reality of who was before him was not physical. It was not just a child's play. He was not the most educated among the apostles. You had people like Luke, who was a physician. You had people like Matthew and Mark. But he was a spiritual giant with whom God decided to confide an eternal secret. But you know what? These spiritual giants also failed. Instead of standing for Jesus when Jesus was taken for judgment, Peter denied the master, leaving Jesus alone before his accusers. And he denied him before a young lady, before a maid. When Jesus died, Peter failed Jesus again by returning to fishing instead of championing the gospel he received. But you know what? In both episodes, Jesus recovered Peter. Peter failed but rose again. So to you, my brother, to you, my sister, who thinks that he has failed spiritually, failed professionally, failed academically, failed in other areas of life, I want you to know that failure is not the problem. The problem is if you're going to stay down there and bemoan yourself, stay there crying and depressed, or you're going to learn the lessons of failure and stand up and do better. If I were you, I will rise today. If I were you, I will bounce back now. I will ask God to help me to get back on my feet and continue pursuing my purpose. Even giants fall sometimes. Oh, many giants fail many times. They are giants not because they didn't fall, but because they never stayed down when they fell. The book of Micah in the Bible, chapter number 7, verse 8 says, "Rejoice not against me, O my enemy. When I fall, I shall arise. When I sit in darkness, the Lord shall be a light unto me." You have fallen, but don't remain down. God bless you.